Republican senators who tried to kill Yemen war resolution were paid by Saudi lobbyists.
Here's a summary of the article.
On Wednesday, senators delivered a historic blow to the country's relationship with ally Saudi Arabia, a country whose leadership has committed notable human rights violations, by voting to move forward a resolution that would end all U.S. military support for the Saudi-led war in Yemen. At least 5 of the Republican senators who voted against the bill have received funding from lobbyists working for Saudi Arabia, a fact that illustrates how the kingdom uses its vast wealth to influence U.S. foreign policy. Republican Senators Roy Blunt of Missouri, John Boozman of Arkansas, Richard Burr of North Carolina, Mike Crapo of Idaho, and Tim Scott of South Carolina received financial contributions from lobbying firms that worked for Saudi Arabia, according to a report by the Center for International Policy released last month. The killing of Khashoggi in the Saudi consulate in Turkey has put unprecedented pressure on the traditionally friendly relationship between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. Senators Boozman and Crapo received $1,000 contributions from Squire Patton Boggs PAC, which was working for Saudi Arabia at the time, according to the report. Boozman, Crapo, Burr and Scott all allegedly received donations of around $2,000 on days when they were contacted by Saudi lobbyists. The killing of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi in the Saudi consulate in Turkey has put unprecedented pressure on the traditionally friendly relationship between the two countries and helped bolster efforts to stop the Saudi-led war, which has led to a cholera outbreak in Yemen and one of the largest famines in decades.
This post received a score of 54,969, with an upvote ratio of 85%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Isn't that illegal, for foreign nationals to pay elected officials?
They don't pay them directly. They contribute to campaign funds or, perhaps, to a PAC that can totes not coordinate with the politician at all due to magical force fields. Then there are also trips, nice dinners, maybe a spa weekend or 3 for the senator's family. Maybe they had some oil trading tips to let slip over one of those dinners. Senators can't be popped for insider trading after all. Lots of ways to move money into a senator without anything so crass as handing them an envelope of hundos.
The shit that gets me about this kind of thing is I've worked for private companies that work NASA contracts for the last 11 years. I've worked with NASA employees at a handful of different facilities and we both have strict guidelines in regards to treating each other. I can't buy a NASA employee dinner and vice versa to keep things clean and free of corruption. Why that doesn't extend to the entirety of the government is beyond me.
One rule for thee and not for me.
One lax attitude towards corruption to rule us all.
And in the darkness pay them.
Fellowship of the Mullah. Followed by the Trump Towers.
Hopefully the third book becomes The Return of Democracy.
At this point, I'd settle for The Return of Sanity.
A vote in our Senate is worth $2,000.
Foreign governments recognize the legalized corruption in the U.S. and use it against us. It's a huge weakness.
Time it was done, so it can be fixed.
Don't worry, they'll fix it by giving politicians 10 times their previous salary so they won't be tempted. All from tax dollars, of course.
It has nothing to do with salary, it has to do with campaigns. We need to seriously look at public campaign financing, or public matching of small donors. There has to be a better way.
The bigger question is why should campaigns cost millions of dollars? Instead we have a political system that requires running millions and maybe even billions in ads through secret channels to decide who will run our government. I had a friend actually run for a local office, wanted to improve government, but couldn't compete with the fundraising of his opponent. Had nothing to do with his values and the district, 100% about fundraising and holding seats.
I mean, surely you understand it's a marketing problem. Getting your name and platform out there to the public costs a lot. You're alluding to publicly funded campaigns to level the playing field, right? It's curious too because you'd basically have to prohibit extra campaigning outside of official forums, otherwise the same problem might still exist.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.